everyone, and welcome back to another video. We're back by the books. We're ready to become smarter and learn and grow. For those of you out there who are in the process of getting an education and studying, this is the video for you. I kind of wanted to share my experience with how I have done things through my bachelor project. As some of you know, I finished my bachelor degree this summer, which was 3 years of kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my field of study. I have a bachelor degree in English and Cultural Studies. It's not the official title, but the courses that I chose became more language and cultural encounters. What I did for my bachelor's project was that I went traveling, which was kind of a great combination for me because I love to travel and I also like to study. And for me, it was a great alternative to going on exchange. If you're one of those people out there who are not really keen on going for exchange and go studying abroad for 6 months, traveling abroad for your bachelor project or for a research project is actually a pretty good and much more efficient alternative. For those of you who went on exchange and had a great time, I'm so happy for you. It just wasn't in my plans at that point. So I was really happy that I did this with my bachelor project. For those of you who are interested in going traveling for your bachelor's project, you probably already have in mind that you want to do some kind of field work. What I did was I did field work, a social linguistic project. What I did was that I went to Miami in the States. I went with friends, which was also very nice because I kind of combined holiday and also studying. I went for 7 full days. I had a small trip to Cuba in the middle, but there are no Americans or anything like that in Cuba, so it was just plain vacation in Cuba. And then after the week in Miami, we went to Cuba for a week, and then we came back 1 day for Miami. Luckily, we were able to complete our full trip of 16 days without having to go home because of COVID, and we got home safe, so that's really good. The interesting thing about Miami is that you don't really feel like you are in the States. In the 60s, a lot of Cubans were immigrating to USA because of the revolution that was going on in Cuba. Now it's a Cuban cultural hub. I had Spanish and English in my course. That was the 2 languages that I really enjoyed. So what I went there to study was the accent of the Cuban Americans. The people who came there with their grandparents and parents when they were 3 years old in the 60s or 70s, they have grown up and of course have an American accent. You can hear that when they speak. And also my generation who are actually born in Miami but have parents and grandparents and their whole family that know how to speak Spanish. They speak American, but there's something to their accent, like very fine vowels and consonants that makes the accent different than a normal American accent. There's a lot of accents out there in America and all over the world, and Miami is one of them. It's a very, very new accent, but that's what I went there to study. The whole purpose of going there was to find out what kind of influence from the Spanish language they have in their American accent. That was the whole topic. I'm sort of gonna try and walk you through my whole preparations and what I did and what was important for me to remember and what I realized when I came home, and also how it worked out for me actually to go on a trip like this. Around February, I think I bought my ticket. So I had around a month, 3 weeks to prepare everything. I knew that I needed to interview people. So what I needed first of all was people. I felt like it was important just to choose Cubans, so my results would be a lot clearer if I just chose one group of people. Research told me online, and what articles told me was that there was a lot of Latinos and Cuban Americans in the Miami Beach and the South Beach area. And me and my friends, we chose a hostel close there, so every time we went on the beach, I would be able to actually ask people if I could interview them for 5 minutes. And then I had a couple of extra areas as a backup plan, just in case I couldn't find anyone. Then I had to prepare questions. You really had to think about the person that you're interviewing and the people that you're gonna be interviewing, and like how they're gonna receive you, knowing that you have to record them. So it was very important that I made like easy questions in the beginning, like how are you, where are you from, do you speak Spanish, all these like formality questions, and then like I would get into the more serious stuff afterwards. And then sort of in the middle, I would ask them to read aloud a passage that had a lot of vowels and consonants that I was planning on putting into a system, and like get results from there to figure out how the accent kind of was different from person to person. And then in the end, of course, I would ask more like hypothetical questions about the situation of Spanish and English in Miami, how that's going to evolve, and maybe in the future if Spanish was going to win over English and become a global language instead of the English language, because I really wanted to hear what they thought, because Spanish is a pretty huge language and it's almost bigger than English statistically, and also how they felt with their identity, if they felt Cuban or if they felt American, because that's also a pretty huge deal. One good thing that I did was that I laminated my paper of my questions and the reading passages. So if I spilled anything on them or I had them in my bag and they would get all destroyed, that wouldn't happen. So laminate your paper. As I said, we were living pretty centric in Miami Beach, so most of the days was spent on the beach or around the area, walking around, getting a tan, shopping a bit, going out for lunch. Whenever I had been swimming or tanning for long enough and I was really warm, I would get up and I would walk along the beach, and I would go up randomly to people that was there sunbathing and ask if they were Cuban Americans. Unfortunately, there was not that many, not even Latinos. There was a lot of people coming from different states of Miami, and that's when I found out that the week we were visiting, it was spring break. So it was very, very hard actually to find people in Miami Beach. I realized that pretty quickly, and it was always in the plan that we would go and discover the little Havana area, because of course it's a little Cuba. That made sense. We actually went there in the evening for salsa because they have a super, super nice, great nightlife and a lot of salsa clubs everywhere. I found almost 80% of the people that I interviewed in one of the dance clubs there. I found that it was actually possible to interview people while we were partying. I had my iPhone with me, and I had my questions that I had cut up and put in my little bag, and I would just ask if they had 10 minutes, and usually people went out for smoking anyways, and then they just stood there with me. I asked them the question, I held up my phone, and that was it. And then they usually asked what for, and I would explain what for, and they were like, sure, no problem. And when you have to go like in the daytime to Little Havana, go back to the hostel, and then go back for the evening, and then back again when you have to go home from the party, it was a lot of Uber drives and a lot of money in the end. So I sort of wish that we had just chosen a place in Little Havana, because Miami Beach is fine, but it's not like, it's just party, and it's fine for 1 night or 2 nights, but if anyone is going there, I would just say 2 nights is fine, and then it also depends on what you're into. But I was there for studying and also for salsa, so for me it made more sense to be there in Little Havana. We also started hanging out in Little Havana in the daytime, where I also interviewed some people. And then for the last day when we came back from Cuba, I went from the city to the suburb area called Kendall, and that's where I found 3 women that I could study that was working in the mall. You would never go to the city center to find local people. I don't know how it would be here in Denmark, probably, but usually in all the touristic areas and not a lot of local people hang out. So I wish that I had been just smart in the beginning and just went straight for the gold instead of hanging out there in the Miami Beach area. Don't trust the internet, because yeah, just don't do it. I spent a lot of time processing my result, and when I came home I had around 2.5 months to finish my project. I handed it in the end of May, and we came home in the end of March. I spent more than half of that just processing results, and then the rest of the time writing and writing and writing. What I did for getting my results and getting the best structure of my results, I ended up dividing the people that I had into different generation groups, which turned out perfectly. It wasn't anything that I had planned. I wish that I did, because maybe I could have worked on it in a better way. I divided some of the people into one group that were people who had come to Miami during the revolution, born in Cuba, and had come to Miami when they were around 6 or 10 years old. Then I had another group of people who had been born in Miami, but around 5 or 10 years later, but still while the revolution was going on. And then I had a group of young people who had been born in Miami 20 years ago. When the revolution was over, Miami had already been like evolving into the Cuban society that it is today. The ones that had been born in Cuba or born in Miami during the revolution actually had more of American traits in their accent. And in the newer generations, there's actually more comparison with the Spanish accent. When all these people in the 60s and 70s were immigrating to Miami in America, there was a bigger interest and a bigger importance of actually integrating yourself as fast as you could in the American culture. And when you knew English and when you sounded like an American, that meant that you had success. The younger generation that is now developing and becoming older and developing their identity, they actually we don't know if they put it on purpose, but it's kind of like this influence from the Spanish language kind of has something to do with their identity and what they want to show to the outside world where they're from. So if they have these kind of traits from Spanish, it means that, you know, this is where I'm from, this is where my family's from. We speak Spanish, we're Cuban, but at the same time, I'm also American. And that's also what's really important about nowadays, is that we can have as many identities as we want. And that's how the Cuban Americans choose to show it in that way. At least the newer generations. I got some cultural insights that I don't think I would have gotten if I had gone on a normal trip. All the extra work that I had to do made it actually an even more special trip for me. It was a bit stressful at times, because my expectation was that I would get more than 15 people, at least more than 10 people, and I only got 8 people. But everything turned out for the best, and I made it work, which was the most important thing. I always try to, every time I went eating, just getting a coffee, just going in the supermarket, you know, I was alert. My ears were always like on point, trying to listen if I could catch someone or whenever. And then it's really just about not being shy and just going up and saying, "Excuse me, can I ask you a question?" Usually people were very open and nice. You can ask for funding if you want to from your university. My university has like different scholarships and different funding for different things. So I'm actually just waiting for the right category to open up so I can apply for some money. And hopefully I have contributed to the social linguistics study of the Miami English accent, which is really exciting, and it's definitely something that I want to do again. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed my video. Hopefully it can come in handy to any of you who are studying or anybody who would just like to travel in a different way. So this is a video for everybody, not just the people who are studying right now. Maybe you are thinking to study in the future or want to do another kind of research project. I'll probably do another video one day about all the things that I've forgotten, because there's a lot of things to think about when you do a research project. This was not a grand research project, one of the big ones. It was only 20 pages. It did take a while, and it does take a lot of time and effort. It always does. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and please just remember to subscribe to my channel if you want more content on my experiences. Please leave a comment below. I'll do my best to answer all the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope you will subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!